Hello there, and welcome to week 4. We are here with Division 2A for the matchup between Afreeca Phreaks and Therapy Session. I am Ethan Hooper Hargreaves, and I am joined by the wonderful Recollect. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Had a nice bit of solo queue until the service went down for the 16th time. Thank you, Riot. But I'm looking forward to watching what I think will probably be a bit of a blowout. I'm not gonna lie on that one. But perhaps I am wrong, and I will be pleasantly surprised as it goes to 3 games.
Yeah, definitely. If we take a look at the standings, we've got Therapy Session currently sitting third place, 2 wins, 1 loss so far. And Afreeca Phreaks currently sitting at 0-3 after a forfeit recently due to some issues. So it definitely does look like a one-sided matchup. But we'll have to see going into this whether they will be able to bring it back. And we do have some issues to mention going into Champion Select. Afreeca will actually be losing their first 3 bans in all games today. So despite also being the let's say underdogs in this matchup, they're also being pushed down without the bans. So how do we think this is going to affect the team moving into draft?
Yeah, it's definitely going to skew the likelihood of victories coming through from Afreeca, because I feel like pick ban is so important, especially lower down in the elo divisions, because you want to ban away more of the comfort picks more so than the meta picks for players, because generally people can't necessarily perform to the levels that the champion is able to. You won't be seeing sort of high elo Riven players dealing insane amounts of damage in team fights. There's a big difference between like a silver Riven main and a challenger Riven main, right? And for the same reason, I think banning away specialist champions, for example, I believe that on Therapy Session there is the Thresh one trick, which is a very powerful, obviously, champion to ban away if you could do, but with no bans, that champion is probably going to be seen consistently here in all three, or 2 of these games.
Yeah, so you mentioned the Thresh there. Shots likely going to be able to get hands on that in most games, really. Are there any other key sort of one-trick picks that we do see in some of the outside of Division 1 coming through that you're expecting to be picked up in Game 1?
Yeah, so as I said, the Thresh being the main one for shots, but Helicon being a big RE player throughout sort of all of this season and last season, of almost 500 games on it last season, is most played by over 300 games, being a big sort of comfort pick, shall we say, for the player. So the fact that one's going to be let through pretty much every game. I may have hinted this a little bit. That's besides the point. It's going to be a big pick to definitely watch out for moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. And we also wanted to mention this is going to be the first day of Valence League being played on patch 11.4. Obviously came out today, did cause some of those server issues, it would appear, in Europe today. But let's go through some of the highlights for the audience before we do get into pick and ban. What are the major changes that you're expecting to occur?
Right, yes. So for anyone who hasn't seen the patch notes, we do have some significant nerfs to the jungle. The most obvious one being, at least if you've had some jungle gameplay of your own, you can no longer get level 3 off of the blue wolves and red buff sort of 3 camp, which it's been standardized for the last couple of seasons as a really quick 3 camp clear that you could perform to guarantee yourself obviously level 3 and then potentially look for an early cheese gank. That will no longer be an option. You now would have to clear the Gromp as well to get yourself that level 3 mark. So at least from a jungling perspective, the way that the players will have to adapt their pathing is going to be quite interesting to see, especially as this is as the first day for the patch. The players haven't had a lot of chance to experiment. So we'll sort of have to see a lot of potentially inefficient pathing. We'll have to see what the players elect to go for. For that reason, we might see an increase in gank-heavy junglers. However, as it is, again, one day since the patch went live, expecting to see sort of the same champion picks just because people haven't adapted to the new meta just yet. Oh, God, that voice crack was beautiful. The big champion sort of to note here is Samira. She is pretty much gone. The hits that she has taken in the most recent patch are kinda, I think, too much to keep the champion afloat. Especially the E-2 allies, which was sort of her get out of jail free card after going aggressively. is now gone. That's the big one for me personally. And the
Yeah.
Inferno trigger nerf as well. From the 3 seconds to 8 seconds cooldown, you're not necessarily going to be able to get multiple ults off consistently as quickly as you could before. So it's big. It's big nerfs for that champion. She's probably in the trash can along with Ryze.
Yeah, this might be one of the first times I've seen every ability, including passive, nerfed on one champion in one patch. And it even feels like back to the days where, Galio lost his taunt flash and that champion was just removed from play completely. There was no, counter buffs or anything like that. This does feel like something that is going to gut Samira, and you have to think they're probably going to be trying to think of a way to build it back up into a competitive environment that's a little bit fairer than it has been on 11.3. Other than that, we're also seeing some nerfs to the likes of Kai'Sa, but like you said, with it being the first day, we do not expect the pools to be changed that much. Senna, however, escaping the bans with some buffs against his Rage Blade, so I would expect we might see some farming or fasting Senna today. Sorry for the delay in getting into Champion Select. We are just waiting on one of the players to join and be confirmed, but that does give us more time to talk about this matchup. So is there any notable players that you'd really like to look at as being like the key points for either of these teams?
Yeah, so moving through the players themselves, I'm expecting to see Hayam Sol playing mostly these sort of carry split push based top lane champions. We have seen a lot of Fiora games recently for this player, so potentially going to be playing that as it was also buffed on this most recent patch. So now a very powerful champion 2 pilot, potentially something to watch out for. Camille was very much avoided as well. A minor nerf to the W, but I don't think it's enough to really put the champion out of the meta. So potentially going to see things like a 1-4, 1-3-1 composition coming through here. So that's sort of what I'm expecting, at least from the blue side of this rift in game 1. As for the side of therapy session, I'm not expecting to see anything in particular because a lot of these players are sort of off role. I was originally expecting with my notes that Gandalf would be playing the support position, but looks like he's currently queued up as the mid laner. So I'm sort of that sort of put me a little bit out of whack in terms of what I'm expecting to see from this team. So that's sort of all up in the air. But I'm excited. That I can tell you at least that much. Potentially, well, we'll just have to wait and see. Honestly, in terms of team therapy session, because they're all off roll.
Yeah, it looks as though therapy session may be needing to use an emergency sub, but we will be getting confirmation on that moving forwards. And I do believe Gandalf will be playing in the support role as the order they're queued up in. I don't believe fully affects their final positions. And let's go back to what you mentioned about perhaps a 1-3-1 comp for the likes of Afreeca Phreaks. We have seen, obviously, like you mentioned, the Fiora, which is likely going to come out, received the buffs to the passive vitals on this patch. And I'm wondering what sort of mid laner you would like to pair that with to perform the other one in the 1-3-1. We've seen that Helicon can play things like the Echo, which can also work in that split push capacity. Would you like to see something like that, or perhaps more of an assassin like the LeBlanc?
Yeah, so going down sort of the comfort picks for the side of Helicon, if we are going to be going for the 1-3-1 route, in terms of his own champion pool, the champions that do sort of stick out, as you said, are sort of the LeBlanc and the Echo. These would both be options for him. Personally, I do prefer to see scaling, especially in lower divisions. LeBlanc is going to be typically better as a blind, and Echo is going to be better as a counter pick. As I said, I like scaling because a lot of the time teams make a lot of mistakes and don't know how to consistently snowball the game into the wins and the game states that they should be in. You see a lot of teams take 2 dragons and then they just don't contest Drake 3, especially when they are a team that's on the clock. If you're on the clock, you need to get Drake 4, the Soul Dragon, on the table as soon as possible so your champions are spiking around the time that the dragon is spawning. That's like, it's something that isn't really talked about as much in the low divisions, but it is very important. you either want to be snowballing your gold lead using Herald to make sure that you're ahead for Dragon 3, or you need to be snowballing the Dragons to get Drake 3 and 4 on the table as soon as possible.
Yeah,
if we are... Yeah, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I definitely think it's going to be interesting to look towards these Dragons and whether or not these teams opt into the scaling option. I know we've seen champions like even the likes of Kiana in the mid lane really struggle in recent patches due to the kind of the negative scaling of that champion, and it is something that needs to consistently get ahead and push into these major objectives. We will have some updates soon regarding the substitution situation. So I apologise that we are a little bit late to starting this one out. But let's maybe talk a little bit about the implications for this match in terms of the standings. Like we said, Therapy Session currently sitting 2-1. Afreeca Phreaks currently sitting 0-3. What does this team? What does this game mean to both of these teams?
So the most important thing for Therapy Session is that at the moment they are, as you say, in the 2-1 sort of spot, but they did lose to Horizon Light, who is currently in second place. The big problem with that obviously being that they now are behind on their opponent specifically, so they need to make up wins against other teams to catch up. I don't believe they've played against the first place team yet in 0-2, which will be a very big game moving forwards throughout sort of the season. But this game for them is going to be really important to cement themselves as one of these top 3 teams and potentially look to be contesting for first place moving through later on in the season. For Afreeca Phreaks, they really need to get the ball rolling. They've played 3 games. They've currently lost all of them. The only other team with 0 wins is Esports Wales, who currently have only played 2 games. They still have a game sort of in hand on Afreeca Phreaks. And as there's only like about 9 teams in this league to begin with, we're getting to the point where we're almost about halfway through the season. If you can't start picking up wins around this sort of time, if not next week, your chances of sort of being a top half team it's gone. There's no real opportunity to make up games, so you really need to get the ball rolling here in week 4.
Yeah, and we will see if either of these teams are able to get the ball rolling in game number 1, as we are now into the champion select of Afreeca Phreaks versus Therapy Session. A reminder, Afreeca will not have their first 3 bans for any games today due to a substitution issue which occurred in the previous week. I'm also just finding out Therapy Session will also not have their first 3 bans due to a last-minute substitution which has had to occur in order for this match to take place. So
that's what I'm hearing. We're just going to sort of sit here.
Yes.
Why don't we just give everyone all of their bans? Because we just have to sit here for like a minute, just sort of... So how's your day going anyway?
It's been wonderful.
It's been wonderful. Oh, I am loving life. We have another 50 seconds to kill. So I think we should use this opportunity to just sort of talk about your Valentine's Day. How did your Valentine's Day go? And your Pancake Day. Those were both last week, weren't they?
Yeah, Valentine's Day was lovely. Me and my partner had some food, played some League of Legends together. That was nice. And I don't eat pancakes, so I'm sorry, I'm one of those people. I'm not a fan of pancakes.
I think that maybe you should be the ban on this ban list, honestly. Like, jeez, no pancakes. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, it's not for me, I'm afraid. How about yourself? As we're just onto the second round of missing.
The second round. We've got 3 more bans. Let's go, boys. No money if you predict what is banned here in the next couple of bans. Oh yeah, I had a pretty good time. It was great. I played some solo queue, lost a lot of games. It was good, and I didn't even notice. I didn't know what day Pancake Day was, so I didn't have any pancakes.
Oh,
I should really get a calendar at some point.
Yeah, I'm bad with that as well. I've mainly just committed time to TFT recently.
Oh, wonderful one.
I dropped all the way to Diamond 2 though, which kind of hurt, but I'm back up to Masters.
You dropped to Diamond 2. Meanwhile, I was Iron 4 last season, so I just can't play TFT. I just can't win in that mode. Anyway, I think this is the first pick now. Is this the first pick?
No, this is the last lot of bans. We have still got
we got 2 more.
Yeah. I wondered if there was a no ban button, but apparently there isn't.
Yeah, not in customs to my knowledge. I think you have to ban something or just sit there. And if you hover something, you end up banning what you hover as well. So we have to sort of sit here and...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you can't actually even hover anything. We do have the last couple of things here.
Yeah, so first pick on blue side. What are you thinking is going to be the top priority for Afreeca Freaks with nothing banned? We are getting every champion is a possibility here.
Well, that's ruined my notes. Well, according to our graphics, it would have to be Malphite first pick into Mordekaiser and then Viego on the red side. So I feel like that might not be this game and might have been a mistake by production, but who knows? I'm excited for the Malphite first pick that's been leaked. If it doesn't happen, it better happen, you know? That's not fair. Okay, so that's a Thresh first pick. Expecting potentially Morgana counter pick to come through. It is a favorable pickup for Gandalf in the support position. So Caitlyn Morgana might be on the table and potentially looking at Thresh Jinx as the opposite matchup. Or the Senna Thresh.
It does look as though there might be a slight issue on stream with the comps that are appearing. But we will talk you through what we are seeing. So yeah, looks as though the Caitlyn Morgana. So we are going to see that Thresh Morgana matchup, which we didn't expect to see. You know, based on bans, we thought both of these champions wouldn't make their way through. Gandalf being a bit of a Morgana one trick, and Shots also being a Thresh one trick. But it does tend to be a Morgana favored matchup, and it looks like the Ahri is going to come through as another comfort pick for Helicon.
Yeah, I just realized everyone is going to get their one tricks because we have no bans. So there's no point in trying to analyze team comps. We have a Thresh one trick, an Ahri one trick, and a Morgana one trick, so they all got their champions. So that's sort of the reasoning behind those three picks. Caitlyn just pairs very well with Morgana, so that's why Caitlyn's been picked.
Yeah, it's worth noting both teams do have their second round bans, which is what's making me slightly surprised that we haven't seen a Fiora pickup before the second round of bans for Hi, I'm Sol, as that is definitely a comfort pick, and instead we're seeing the Lucian come through. Wasn't affected by the 11.4 nerf, so perhaps that is why.
So we're in an awkward situation where I actually think that you have to ban away Camille and Fiora if you are on the blue side here, just because of the fact that Galio Camille is so powerful and he can absolutely affect the side lane. So playing a 1-3-1 or 1-4 comp against Galio is a very difficult situation. Having said that, apparently my point is completely countered because Fiora's just been banned away by red side.
Yeah, on the red side with the Galio, the top laner Sapig doesn't appear to be a Camille style player. Plays, it looks to me like a Gragas one trick at the moment. So it tends to play a bit more of a tank control top lane. So I wonder if they would actually be even willing to pick that up with the Galio Synergy, as doesn't look like a ban is going to actually come through from the side of Afreeca Freaks.
Do you think they weren't told that they can ban in the second phase, and they're actually going to no ban all of the second phase too?
From our information from the admins, they were allowed to have their second phase bans, so this may have just been a mistake on their part. So we'll have to see what the follow-up is going to be here, but that is obviously going to affect them now. The favor going into Therapy Session's hands in this ban phase. This is been more exciting than some of the games I've casted. This champion select.
It's a banger. The question is, if we do see double no ban, that's almost certainly a mistake. So do we remake champ select to that point with the same picks and bans, or do we just keep going with it?
I will.
One team is clearly at a disadvantage from the fact that they cannot ban.
I'm hearing from admin that we will continue going, so it looks as though they are just going to sandbag their entire ban strategy. So Afreeca Freaks,
Poggers.
It's not looking as though they're improving on their 0-3 win record so far, but
I mean, I think if you draft this way, that might be part of the reason for the 0-3 win record.
I'm going to make some notes for upcoming Clash, because it's looking like this is an interesting draft method. As we're going to see the Skarner pickup coming out from the jungle of Therapy Session. Very interesting pick there.
So Skarner is super powerful at the moment. It's considered to be sort of the up-and-coming jungler with a similar build to that of Udyr, but having more of the utility, given the fact that you are able to just sort of drag someone from Narnia all the way into your team. So, very powerful champion at the moment. Lilia kind of able to counter the Skarner by just kiting him out, probably the main way that matchup goes. I feel like this is such a hard draft for Afreeca Freaks to actually play out, as there's such an excellent opportunity for a 1-3-1 composition from the side of Therapy Session, and they still have access to top lane counterpick. They have a really safe mid lane with the Caitlyn Morgana core standing there. And then they have a semi-global from the Galio, as well as who can interrupt any plays that do end up going down in the mid lane. And then they have top lane counterpick into Renekton with Camille being open, but they take Gragas.
Yeah, there's the comfort coming out for Sapig in the top lane. And I'm curious as well about, with Afreeca's draft, wondering whether or not they could have perhaps hidden the Lucian for a later pick, or even picked the Lucian prior to Ahri and used it as that flex pick option between the mid lane and the bot lane. It seemed like quite an early pick, prior to the second round of bans.
I think given the fact that Helicon is this very large RE1 trick, they just wanted to secure that champion for themselves. But I definitely agree that there was the opportunity to use the Lucian for its flex pick potential. I'm interested to see this top matchup. I actually think the Gragas will do quite well, given the nerfs that did come through to Renekton on the most recent patch.
Yes, so we did see, I believe it was the Culver Meek non-champion based healing has been reduced, and enhanced non-champion for both the empowered and non-empowered Q has been removed. So a little bit less sustain in lane, whilst Gragas' sustain has not been touched. So certainly seems like it's going to be easier for Sapig to survive in that lane.
Yeah, so he'll do himself very well. Probably outscale sort of on the side lane matchup now, given the fact that you can use your body slam to disengage pretty much anything that Renekton does when through the war of attrition. And if you were to go the full tank Gragas build, which is definitely what I would recommend in this situation, you go the Grasp with the Undying and then into one of the Balmy Cinders items and just sort of tank it up and slap down with all of the healing that comes through from your W chugging. You do tend to max that second on tank Gragas, which you don't normally do on AP. It makes the champion extremely tanky, whilst also dealing a decent amount of damage with the max health damage that does come through from that ability.
Yeah, so I'm interested with Therapy Sessions composition. We can see 3 big beefy tanks coming from mid, top, and jungle. An awful lot of CC coming out from the 3 of them combined with the support. Is there a little bit too much damage requirement to come out of the Caitlyn? Is there an awful lot of pressure being put on Worth Dying for here to output enough damage to win these team fights?
Hang on one second. There is a lot of requirement for the Caitlyn to deal damage, but the same issue could be applied sort of on both sides in a weird way. Whilst Caitlyn is the majority of the damage to deal, there isn't that much tankiness, so it's actually not too bad in this current situation. The only one who's a little bit tanky to deal with would be the Renekton. But realistically, as soon as Lilia is popping the sleep onto multiple men, usually you see a Zhonya's come out, and then Caitlyn is well known for her ability to punish Zhonya's usage, using a trap underneath and the 90 caliber net combo, as well as the build of a Peacemaker. So you can do a little burst combo, do about 2 or 3 headshots in a moment, and one-shot the Lilia if she does attempt to do something. And all of the other champions are fairly squishy anyway. Ahri and Lucian not exactly known for their tanky stats, and whilst Thresh can get somewhat tanky, he is obviously the support as well, so not going to have a large amount of gold income to buy tank items. So whilst you do, it does look like the majority of the damage threshold will be on this Caitlyn pick, there isn't that much damage that needs to be dealt, so it's not the worst thing in the world. Okay,
very interesting. And I imagine coming out of Ballbag, we will be seeing the Kraken Slayer combined with the Lucian to try and cut through some of these tankier members on the side of Therapy Session. And we will be moving into game soon. I do believe some of the stream may be displaying some of the picks incorrectly. It is not Veigar and Samira in the bot lane. It is Lucian and Caitlyn. So apologies for those small errors. But once we get into game, as we are about to, we will see these lineups officially.
I just realized, I think Afreeca Phreaks' logo has the word designed by Bauer written on it. So shout out to Bauer. Put in a lot of time designing that Phreak. I believe that's a picture of the Riot Phreak. Excellent bit of work from him. Looking at runes, nothing particularly too exciting coming across. Do have the phase rush on the Skarner, which is sort of an interesting one, as well as the phase rush coming through from Sapig on this Gragas, so not going to be the tank variant that I was talking about in Champ Select.
No, also, I quite like to see the Guardian on Thresh here in this particular matchup, given the range of Caitlyn, as well as the Tormented Soil and Q-Poke from Morgana. I think the barrier is an excellent way to try and nullify some of that early aggression, but he will not have the tankiness of the likes of an Aftershock Thresh moving into some of the team fights. So let's see if that comes back to bite shots moving forward, as we will have a brief pause at 10 seconds just to ensure that we are synced up with the stream.
Absolutely. It's a little bit mandatory at this point to make sure that we are synced. I am ready.
Yep. Fantastic. And here we are getting into game. This is game 1 of Afreeca Phreaks versus Therapy Session.
We've immediately got calls for an invade from both teams, I think. No, mostly it's from the side of the Afreeca Phreaks. We'll have to see whether they do anything. But after all those pings, they're just going for a 5-point defense.
It looks as though we might have the classic fight over the Skarner Spires, try and spread some of that gold out. Do you expect this in almost any game? And we will also be seeing the Ghost coming out of I Love Whiskey on the Skarner. A little surprising. Most people try to go with the Flash Impale Run Back combo, but we'll be interested to see whether this can have the same effect.
So for me personally, I value Ghost a lot more in the early stages than I would value something like a Flash. So generally, if you see someone taking this Ghost, usually on the O level on the Skarner, or even on the Udyr to an extent, you're expecting to see a lot of early aggression to really capitalize on the power that you have with that early rundown and movement speed.
Yeah, and it looks as though I'm curious here. The Gragas' positioning needs to start getting towards that top lane fairly soon, as to avoid losing any experience. Will just be a blue start for both sides, and we'll see if anybody tries to make any invades from there. And yeah, looks as though Gragas should make it there just in time for the top wave.
Yeah, don't think Sapik was caught on the mid lane wave, so it looks like he's going to get that undetected, so there'll be no knowledge of the bot side start here for the side of the Afreeca Phreaks, thankfully for them, or rather thankfully for Therapy Session. Looks like we're going to just see standard trades to begin with, nothing too exciting. Though there is a little bit of a difference in jungle pathing. We have the Apple Man electing to skip his camps. I actually think he started the wolves and messed it up. No, elected to just not do them at all. So very quick, really speeding through, shall we say, just to do double camp. It's an interesting.
We're seeing a level 2 hook in the bot lane. Sorry, no, nothing coming from that. Can sorry, continue with your jungle pathing point.
Yeah, it's a little bit odd to see this. So we're just seeing double buff here for the side of the Lilia. On the opposite side, we've got Skarner already taking 3 camps, so very ahead in terms of the camp speed and thus the level and XP. So we need to see a big play here from the Appleman to make up for the inefficient pathing. Looks like he's trying to do an invade, but that's going to be fruitless, and that's going to mean it's going to be gold lead here for I Love Whiskey on the Skarner.
Yeah, and definitely the closest camp there for the Lilia being the Golem, so having to walk all the way down there and likely having to go for a recall after that. So looks like some inefficient pathing coming out from the Appleman. And we'll have to see if I Love Whiskey is going to make the way towards the top lane, although Wave in quite a difficult position to try and get a good angle onto the Gragas. As a binding will be landing onto the Thresh. Nice little trap underneath into the Piltover Peacemaker from the Caitlyn, but nothing else doing there as Lilia appears to be making her way down to that bottom lane.
I don't expect it to be a very fruitful gank onto this Caitlyn Morgana matchup, as you do have...
Oh, that is a flash forward on there from the Thresh and a flash in defense from the Caitlyn. I'm afraid we were not able to see that, but there is going to be another binding landing onto Thresh. So trading blow for blow here in the bot lane, as Lilia is going to be picking up the bottom Scuttle Crab. Likely traded for the top one by Skarner, who is about to be spotted on this Tri-Brush Vision.
You've got to love directed cam. Instead of the gank that's happening bot lane where summoners are blown, we're staring at 2 tanks automing each other to death. That's beautiful stuff there from Riot Games.
Yeah. As both junglers have been spotted on their respective
good
threads.
hook.
Oh, nice hook there from Shots. He's going to blow the flash of Gandalf, and then we're just going to see... Oh, another binding, nicely dodged away from by Ball with the Lantern. So yeah, definitely a lot of trading happening down here in the bot lane. Now a Summoner's advantage over to the side of Afreeca Phreaks. But we'll see if anybody can capitalize on that. As another hook is going to land. Great flare, and it looks as though they're going to get the PTA down onto the Caitlyn, flash forward, and it's going to be a heal coming out worth dying for, but he's going to be taken down by the Lucian, and they're likely going to be able to chase down Gandalf here, as just taking shot after shot. He's actually going to dash into the binding, and going to have to blow heal. It looks as though, not able to hand the kill over to the Lucian. It's going to be taken with the empowered auto attack.
So I actually think that there could have been a flay there to guarantee the kill goes over to your Lucian, but we take those. That's a happy little 2 kills there for the Afreeca Phreaks. They'll be pretty pleased with themselves. Excellent hooks, landing multiple here from Shots. He's doing very well in the early stages.
Yeah, and we can see these loss of bans really punishing Therapy Session here, because you have to think that the Thresh would have been taken away. We are seeing the Lilia visit the top lane here, but just a simple body slam out of there from Sapig. Yeah, the Thresh going through to Shots, we're already seeing some of the expertise coming out with these hooks.
Yeah, and the big thing about the Thresh Morgana matchup is if the Black Shield isn't landing on these hooks, it becomes very difficult for you to actually do anything if you are playing the Morgana side of the matchup. So Shot's doing an excellent job here of making sure that his hooks could be aiming at multiple targets, and he's winning the 50-50 on the Black Shield every time so far.
Yeah, and you have to think Afreeca Phreaks would have known Gandalf is a potent Morgana player, so really taking the challenge to them and saying, we know that you play the the key counter in many matchups to Thresh. We just think I'm a good enough Thresh player to pull it off. And so far that is working out very nicely for them. Already a 1,000 gold lead, as we will see another attempt up into the top lane. But Gragas is level 6, but no mana. Going to be able to land the Watch Out Eat, but it looks as though we'll be able to get under tower without having to blow flash. As we're actually seeing the blue side catch out the Skarner in their jungle. It looks as though the Ahri with the level 6, the Galio ultimate is going to come in incredibly late, but the Skarner is going to be taken down, but only in trade for the blue side support. So 1-for-1 there, but some questionable positioning from the Skarner.
Yeah, Whiskey not having the best of times there, trying to invade away, I think, the Raptors, potentially, in response for the gank that was happening here on the top side by the Apple Man. So a decent response in theory. However, the roam comes through from Shots, which ends up meaning that we get a trade over at the Raptors, which is going to be beneficial, actually, to the side of Afreeca, as you're able to get a lot more farm and XP onto your key members, while this Thresh, he's not going to lose too much usefulness if he does end up not being there for a little bit of XP.
Yeah, likely going to see Ballbag hit level 6 before the Caitlyn in this matchup, as another binding is going to land, and the accuracy has been there from Gandalf, but it's just not in the correct scenarios so far, I think is what would be fair to say. So we're actually going to see Shots step up for another hook, as they're actually going to land after the backwards movement from the Caitlyn, and it's actually just going to be a double tap from the Lucian to take it down. Really unusual set of plays there coming from the Caitlyn, as it appeared that Worth Dying For was going to be out and moved back into range of the hook.
Yeah, he had the... if you net with perfect range, you can never be hit by Thresh Hook. Looks as though the net was perfect, and then just took a couple steps closer for a little love tap with death, and ends up going down. So, not exactly what you want to see out of your Caitlyn. That's a decent taunt.
It's going to be a flash taunt forwards for Fist, and there we are. It's going to be a kill over to the Galio, as actually it's going to be the Culling taking down the Skarner as well, though, so this Dragon may be off the table. Nice knock up onto Shots, but will he be able to dive this tower? No, the Lantern Shield is going to be enough. There's a charm onto Fist, and it's going to be another taunt, but they're going to be taken down by the Ahri on this occasion. So still it appears Ballbag coming out on top in all of these trades.
Yeah, so the side of the Afreeca Phreaks now got themselves a nice little 2,000 gold lead, as well as the potential to take away this dragon, but doesn't look like they're going to do so. The initial play is really clean from Fist, attempting to land a multi-man taunt here for the one-shot onto the Apple Man, which does end up coming through, but it's just a situation where you jump in aggressively in a numbers disadvantage situation, so of course the Galio ends up going down, and it becomes a favorable play for the side of Afreeca.
Yeah, also going in with that Galio taunt without the ult coming out. Oh, it's actually going to be a flash forward into the Swirl Seed and the Sleep, but it doesn't look as though they're going to have the range to be able to take anybody down. Nice little trap onto the Lilia. Going to be taken down to a couple hundred HP, but still just a little more trading for summoners down there in the bot lane. As I was saying in the previous fight, neither jungler level 6 at that point, so not able to get involved in these fights as much as they would like. Now just reaching level 6s at the moment, and blue side will be heading over to that dragon as we see Sapig just pushing in the top lane.
Yeah, and on the subject of junglers, it feels as though Whiskey has done very little with the golden XP lead he managed to get from the pathing mistakes from the Appleman. Meanwhile, the Appleman has managed to gank effectively. I would say, despite obviously not having any real KP, has definitely been providing pressure into each of his lanes. Several gank attempts on the top side, one there on the bot side as well, so burning summoners and just being an all-round menace, and realistically not falling that far behind in terms of usefulness. I would like to see Whiskey sort of make a play after he collects this Herald here on the top side. Aggressive cast.
Great Casca there from the Gragas, but will they have the damage to take down the Renekton? Actually going to get pincered in by the Skarner, but the Thresh is on the way with the Lancer. It's going to be a flash forward into the hook, but the suppression should be enough to take down the Renekton, as there it is. But the Herald, half HP now. It's now a 3v3 in the river. Looks as though priority is going to be given over to Afreeca, and it appears Isle of Whiskey just going to back out without that ultimate and ghost.
On this timer, you have to try and make a play on the... aggressive hook here from Shots. Charm misses though, so it doesn't look like anything's going to come of it.
No, we're going to see the culling come out in the bot lane. The Black Shield is not going to do anything about that. Oh, dash forward into the piercing light. It's going to be enough to take down Worth Dying For in the 1v2. So Ballbag really using that golden experience advantage from early to punish the therapy session spot lane.
That should never happen. If you're making a play, if your teammates are making a play on the top side, there's no way you should be able to get yourself a 1v2 kill. But looks like Ballbag is far enough ahead that it doesn't actually matter. Good hook onto Fistmate as well.
Into the charm as well. So it looks as though they're going to be taken down here. Shots, again, I'm loving the accuracy. I'm loving the map movement as well. Big fan of them moving the Thresh up towards the top lane because they knew the Rift Herald was going to play out. Obviously, the Renekton was still falling due to the Skarner gank, but still some excellent play and movement between the likes of Shots and the Appleman to stay together and produce these outnumbered situations for the side of Afreeca.
Yeah, but we talked about this a little bit earlier, though, in terms of the scaling aspects of the two teams. It feels as though if you are piloting this Renekton, Ahri, Lucian composition, you do need to have this early game lead and try and transition it well. So it's extremely important that whilst Afreeca Phreaks have done a great job to gain this lead to begin with, they need to continue making aggressive, gold-positive plays so that they can consistently snowball this lead and potentially look to get multiple dragons and use the soul as a win condition.
Yeah, and Ballbag's play down there in the bot lane with the 1v2, certainly showing an awful lot of confidence coming out from the player. You know, despite this team currently being 0-3 in the standings, really not letting that deter the confidence. As we're actually going to see the Everos Gragas coming out here, going to land a little bit of poke onto the Renekton, which we now know cannot regen that up as well from the Cull the Meek. So I'm a little interested in his Everfrost build, not an item that we've seen used across many champions.
Yeah, it's been popularized recently by the Baus, so we might be looking at a Baus fanboy here on the top side. Typically, I think the next item would be the Zhonya's, which is going to have decent value here into the Renekton. The idea being that you can go aggressively and then guarantee the root off of the Everfrost, as well as it just being a very solid item for Gragas, given you are able to gain sort of the AP as well from the Mythic passive. So it's a decent all-round item if you are going this damage Gragas option. Teleport here from Galio to the bot side.
Yeah, it does have the cask available, so we'll have to see. Oh, it's actually going to be the Galio, sorry, not the Gragas, as we're going to see the Justice Sponge, but it looks as though Thresh is going to sacrifice his life to save the Eddie Carra, as the culling is actually going to do a decent amount of damage to Worth Dying For. Ballbag surely not going to be able to take anybody down here, as we are going to see the Sleep coming down onto Isle of Whiskey, not be able to get out of there, but the Galio ultimate is going to come in again far too late. May even go down himself, as Ballbag does have the flash available. It's going to be a flash forward from Helicon, but nothing giving just there. And they will leave that fight. Some questionable heroes entrances here coming out of Fist.
Yeah, not an ideal situation here. If you're burning your teleport and the heroic entrance to literally just have one of your members die, it's a play where you're investing your own resources and you come out negative. This is not a situation you want to be in if you are on the side of therapy session. So, okay, what is this?
The ultimate coming out from the Renekton, and there's the Everfrost, which is just going to cancel the entire play. Oh, it's a much too far cask coming out of Sapig, and that looks like just both ultimates going to be blown, and the lane will continue as normal. We will have the dragon coming up fairly shortly, so we are going to be having either an Ocean or a Cloud Soul. And you have to think the Ocean Soul is going to be the one that the likes of therapy sessions are going to be looking for.
Yeah, typically you would value the Ocean Soul more highly on most compositions. And whilst the Cloud Soul can have some decent value... Oh, good hook shots again. Don't think anything will come of it. He just doesn't miss, does he?
He's not missing so far this game, as they will be moving towards the Dragon, but it does look as though Therapy Session want to contest to this as they brought the Skarner down. But no access to the Galio ultimate is going to be a big problem for this big team fight.
Yeah, no explosive cask. Looks like Sapig has recalled, so he can teleport if a contest is possible, but it doesn't look like they're going to go for it. So it's going to be 2 dragons here for the side of Afreeca Phreaks, and we're going to be looking towards the Ocean Dragon, the perfect role here. To give themselves a really strong later game.
Oh, it's actually going to be the Sleep Scent, and it's a flash into the hook, into the culling, but it looks as though shots may have gone too far. It's going to be binded up and stuck under tower, and it was an excellent black shield coming out from Gandalf onto the Galio to deny the flare towards his own team. So nice movement there from the bottom lane of Therapy Session, but they will still lose that second dragon and the tier 1 mid lane.
Yeah, so we're looking at 4,000 gold lead, sorry, for the side of Afreeca here. Their only real saving grace of that play is that they do end up getting the tower afterwards. Shots just going a little bit too far forward, not really respecting where Gandalf could have been on the map there, and ends up getting punished, sadly.
We're actually going to see Ballbag in the top lane. It's going to be a flash stun. Everfrost is going to land, though, and nullify the entire gank. Will we see the ultimate coming out from Skarner? No, he's just going to scuttle his way away. And we're actually seeing quite a large CS advantage in the side of Sapig. It does look as though more members coming up here. We may have ourselves a 3v3 in the top lane here, but looks as though they are going to be recalling and backing off.
Yeah, the worrying thing about this top matchup is that the Gragas actually outscales as well. So the fact that there's already this very large CS and gold lead, it's a worrying sign for the side lane here of Afreeca Phreaks. Thankfully for them, they do currently have other points of pressure, so it's not the worst thing in the world. But it's definitely not the reason you would pick Renekton. If you are, going to get slapped about by this Gragas pick, potentially would have been one of the nice bans that they could have had for themselves, but obviously didn't go with, as they went for the patented no ban strategy. We will have to wait and see whether that is effective for them or not, but definitely would have been something to consider for Game 2.
Yeah, as we're going to be seeing the second Herald being taken up here, and it does look as though Therapy Session want to contest this, but Herald is going to be taken down already. So they've just moved all these players up here for nothing. I Love Whiskey really going to be falling down in XP as well here by not clearing these camps and hanging around this top lane. Binding going to be cancelling the recall from High I'm Sol, but once again, doesn't look like anything else is going to come from it. Gandalf not achieving an awful lot in this top lane, but is it going to be a body slam onto Ballbag? There it is. It's going to be a cast towards the tower. Only one tower shot taken. Everfrost is going to lock the Lucian down. Will he be able to pick up? Yes, he has. He's picked up the shutdown there. Galio ultimate coming in at the right time this time, and the Taunt will pick up the kill for Fistmite. So suppression in onto the Lilia, into the Caitlyn ult. This should be the Deer taken down. But it's actually going to be the Charm that comes out and takes down the Caitlyn, and there it is. We will finally see Scorpion beats Deer.
And the side of Therapy Session make their first really positive, aggressive play. Really good cast coming through from Sapig, and whilst the binding doesn't hit afterwards, it doesn't matter, because the root comes through from the Everfrost, from this Gragas pick. Excellent one-shot here to really delete Ballbag being the strongest member. So taking away a little bit of shutdown gold, that's going to help clear up the gold deficit. Having said that, worth dying for, not respecting the fact that his team was all in an opposite area and ends up being the one who gets collapsed on whilst thinking he was the one collapsing on the Appleman.
Yeah, also died with both summoners up there as well, so really was not expecting Helicon to come out of that brush with the Ahri Ultimate and Charm. So excellent play there. 4-0-1 right now on the Ahri, so having an excellent performance so far. Will be interesting to note whether they will be able to move towards this early soul. As moving towards the 20-minute mark, we do have around a 2.5k gold lead right now. Do you think this is enough of an advantage coming from the early game that you were expecting Afreeca Phreaks to need to be able to win this game?
I would say no. Having said that, all of the gold is on the right members. So it's worth noting that the theoretical is I would say you need about 4,500 gold if your gold is split. But having it so front-loaded onto this Lucian and Ahri picks does kind of make it so that they might be okay. It's really all going to depend on this next dragon fight. But the power of Explosive Cask, as well as a good heroic entrance after over the top of Whiskey when he goes in aggressively with the Impale, is going to make all the difference here in this next fight. How good is the heroic entrance onto multiple people? How good is the Cask at splitting people apart? And how... who is it that we're able to target with this Skarner ultimate? Because we don't have the ability to target the Bullbag anymore, as the QSS has been picked up for the solution.
Yeah, that was something I was going to note. We'll just let you guys know we are currently in a pause. We'll give you some more information once we have it, but fingers crossed we will get going soon. As in 20 seconds, we'll be having the first Ocean Drake of the game, moving us over to the third potentially for Afreeca Phreaks and the first for Therapy Session. And yeah, as you noted, we are seeing the Skarn attacks coming out with the QSS on the Lucian. So while you were saying that so much of the gold is into the key members of both Ahri and Lucian, some of that gold is also slightly negated from paying the Skarn attacks on that QSS.
Yeah, absolutely. It is worth noting that you're losing about 1,000 gold worth of effective, stats, because you're only really getting the MR, but against this composition, the MR is going to have some value, but it's not going to be as useful as an actual aggressive item for the solution. Potentially that could have been at least very close to the completion of Essence Reaper, which I expect to be the next item here coming from Bullbag, given the fact that Sheen has been picked up. That would have been the full Caulfield's Warhammer for sure, and it's effective stats you are losing out on. But we will have to see how good the usage of this QSS is to make up for that lost, effective aggressive itemization. You do have the ability now to potentially cleanse the binding coming through from Gandalf, as well as the taunt from the Galio, and finally the Skarner CC from the Impale. So definitely a lot of options to use this QSS on. So going to be an effective item, but we'll have to see how well it's used.
Yeah, we'll have to see how this fight goes. Afreeca Phreaks haven't cleared out the vision in the back of the pit, so there is no threat right now. It's actually going to be a hook over the wall, but nobody's going to take it. Appleman is actually going to be caught out before the fight even starts with only 400 HP. The Impale is going to be enough to then take him down. Kill going over to Sapping, as Haim Sol is still just hanging around, and they still seem to want to be at a fight for this. I believe the Lucian may even be attempting to solo the dragon, but Sapping going to go in a little bit too early, likely going to get taken down, but it's actually going to be the taunt onto the Lucian. Shots is also going to follow. And while they may have taken down the Gragas, it looks as though Therapy Session are going to win this fight, incredibly effectively, and be able to move over there and take down this dragon. It does appear the Herald is also pushing in the favor of Afreeca Phreaks, but not able to take down that tower. So definitely not a worthy trade, as we'll see a steal attempt come out from the Ahri, but not going to be successful.
Extremely late QSS from Bullbag, gets flash taunted on by Fist, but doesn't actually QSS until the taunt is about to end. So takes his entire health bar worth of damage, then QSSs, and then insta-dies afterwards. So the QSS not doing anything if you can't press the button. Not an ideal play from the Lucian.
Yeah, and we're seeing the side of Afreeca Phreaks still try and contest a dragon when their jungler has just fallen down. They clearly felt confident enough that they could hold off the team to let the Lucian solo the dragon, but again, we're still looking at only a one fully completed Lucian, not going to be able to solo a dragon particularly quickly, and you have to question Appleman's positioning there, having been, poked out in the mid lane and then being caught out with only 400, 500 HP by this Turbo Chem Tank Skarner.
Yeah, absolutely a mistake from the Appleman. However, I feel as though there was definitely a possibility to contest after he went down, just because of how much was used up on the Appleman. You burned the Explosive Cask and the Impale, which are two of your main engage tools here for the side, for the red side here. It becomes very difficult then to pick the next fight, but luckily for them, a little bit of a regression, a taunt comes through, and the fight becomes playable.
Yeah, as we're seeing right now, we've got the Ahri down in the bottom lane. I'm surprised to see blue side kind of pushing in an awful lot, trying to fight over this vision, given if a fight were to break out, it would be a 4v5. So it doesn't appear anybody's going to be making their way towards this Baron, and it's just going to be a little bit of an ARAM, it would appear, for now.
Yep, we're just going to be sort of waiting, trying to get XP and gold onto the carries and just bouncing waves until we see the next neutral objective spawning. Baron isn't really an option at the moment, given the itemization for both of these compositions. There isn't really enough damage to turn and burn that one. Having said that, if you look at the top side and the bottom side, the amount of gold and XP that's just been denied here by Afreeca Phreaks is quite noticeable. A large amount of XP there on the bot side, not really being suctioned up by anyone. Aggressive play here onto Fist.
That is going to be the culling down. It will push the Gasua away and get them that tier 2 tower. Fist does have the teleport, so would be able to get back on the map quickly if they want to, but they are moving 4 people towards the top lane here. Perhaps try and land a dive onto Sapig, who's going to have the sleep put on, and there's going to be the hook into the follow-up. Likely going to be a stun, but the Galio ultimate is going to come in perfectly with the cast. So much damage coming out, and they're stuck under the tower without enough, and it looks as though the Ahri will be able to dive onto the backline to finally pick up the kill on the Gragas. But surely that is not worth it.
Yeah, you don't typically want to see the AD carry flank under tower into get CC'd by everything, burn all my summoners and die. Not really the most effective tower diving strategy to my knowledge, but it's the one that Afreeca Phreaks attempts to perform, and it goes about as well as you'd expect. They do end up getting a 1-for-1, remarkably, in that situation. But yeah, definitely could have been cleaner. That's definitely one you can chalk up to a lack of experience on that particular play.
Yeah, I know we criticised Fist in the early game for some questionable short-range Galio ultimates that, you know, in some ways put himself in an even more dangerous position, but the last 2 or 3 have actually been incredibly effective there, ulting onto the Gragas, really putting the tower dive under pressure. So the performance has definitely improved from the therapy session mid laner.
Yeah, that's the big power of Galio, is that you have these very large zone control based abilities. You have the heroic entrance that does allow you to protect someone who's being bursted down. Talking about bursting down, it looks as though we're having a Baron. That should be started up. Looks like we're just seeing vision control for now, but Phreaks definitely posturing for that one in the near future.
Yeah, definitely. With the teleport currently on the Renekton, staying outside of vision at the moment, although it looks as though they might just show. They could potentially just try and burn the teleport of the Gragas to go for a play later on. Ballbag just going to hang around here, but they are losing a lot of golden experience with this top wave, just dying to the tower. So Ballbag and Appleman not really gaining an awful lot right now by just threatening this Baron.
And I worry about the potential of objective trading coming through here. As the dragon is spawning in the next 30 seconds here, if you are unable to secure this dragon on the side of the Afreeca Phreaks, that's another 5 minutes on the clock, and by the time the final dragon spawns, you're not exactly going to be in a strong spot to take it, but looks like they're going to try and turn and burn the Baron in response.
But it doesn't look as though they've got the damage to keep it going, and Gragas has just walked up here, so unless they can perhaps get this tier 2 tower bottom with Renekton, I'm not sure how much they actually gain from this move.
Yeah, and Dragon is spawning right now, so the potential for the side of Therapy Session to just walk over there and take that one for themselves, it's really high. And there isn't exactly a tank on the side of Afreeca Phreaks to tank up the Baron damage, so realistically you can send your Skarner to solo this one, and everyone else can just defend the Baron, and it becomes a Baron plus Therapy Session versus Afreeca Phreaks fight, and Afreeca wouldn't win that one, so...
Yeah, it looks as though it's definitely going to be a trade, as we're going to see the Renekton actually trying to threaten the 3-man on Dragon. It does appear to be a direct trade Baron for second Drake. We're going to have to see a huge Baron power play come out of Afreeca Phreaks to warrant that 5-minute delay that you're referring to with the Dragon for them stacking up with Soul. Looks as though they actually want to start pushing these 2 side lanes immediately, as they're going to be traded for the inner tower, as we're going to see Galio and Renekton having a little fight in the bottom lane. But it looks as though everyone is just going to converge on this top lane. Will they be able to take down an inhibitor?
Yeah, I don't think this was worth the Therapy Session at all. I just wanted one person to take the Dragon while you defend the Baron and make sure you don't get the trade, but it looks like the massive stacked wave topside is going to be in trouble.
Oh, it looks like there's going to be a big Morgana ultimate. Great Zhonya's, but it's actually going to be ruined by the cask, which is going to knock everyone out. There we're going to see the Galio ultimate coming in into a knock-up and Everfrost onto the Lilia. Lilia will go down here, but it may be in trade for Galio's life. No, able to get out, so it is going to be a 2-for-1 in favour of Therapy Sessions, but they have almost lost that inhibitor tower in the top lane, and they also lost the tier 2 in the bottom lane.
Yeah, it's a difficult situation now for the side of Therapy Session. They do end up coming out ahead on that play, but this Baron being given over is definitely going to be a little bit of trouble. They need to make sure they don't lose any inhib towers over the next couple of minutes, and if they're able to do that, they'll be in a really strong spot.
Yeah, moving towards the 30-minute mark now. We mentioned at 20 minutes that we had around a 2.5 to 3k gold lead. That has now ballooned closer to 4.5, even 5 during that fight. So we are seeing some of that extension of a gold lead coming out from Afreeca Phreaks, but I'm not quite sure that it's going to be enough to win them this game before there's the threat of the outscale from Therapy Session.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one. The thing I need to point out here is we do have Worth Dying hit himself this 3-item spike on the Caitlyn. As soon as he gets himself that Affinity Edge, he's going to be even more powerful, but definitely going to deal a decent amount of damage now as we are. No real healing reduction coming through, though, from either side is a little bit odd.
We're seeing a couple of Bramble Vests being bought on the side of Therapy Session, but no proactive as of right now.
I'm surprised to not see Moonstaff coming through from Appleman. Do see Leandri's coming through from the Lydia. Definitely would have been a powerful pickup. So I guess prioritizing his own damage potential over the healing and protective nature that can come through with the rest of his team. So
I do believe Moonstone actually nerfed on this patch in terms of the crowding out choice of the healing. So maybe been down to that, or maybe, like you said, just wants to prioritize their own damage. But we are still seeing this nice trap onto the Lucian. Caitlyn really being able to dish out some of that damage, and we're seeing this QSS tax really being a bit of a problem for the build of Ballbag, who, despite his early lead, has fallen behind in completed items with Worth Dying for. But they are still going to be able to push forward and take this inhibitor down to 50%, as Helicon just going to glide away from that binding.
What's worth noting is there is an excellent potential teleport ward here for Sapig behind at the red buff area. If he were to walk away from the direction, you would end up losing the bot tower, but potentially the amount of gold you would gain off the play might potentially make it worthwhile.
They're just going to let that top inhibitor go down, as Caitlyn may be able to follow with some of the rapid fire autos, but looks as though they're just going to have to move towards the mid lane and defend there now as well. You've got 3 lanes of pressure right now for the side of Afreeca Phreaks, and this is definitely how they would have liked to have seen this game 1 go.
Yeah, really good usage of the Baron buff to get themselves the inhibitor in the top lane and to deal decent damage to the towers in both the bot lane and the mid lane. The reason why it's so important that top inhib goes down is that it's going to be down now for when Drake number 3, the Soul Point Dragon, does come on the table. And that's obviously going to play an important part here in the scaling. Oh, I'm getting tongue-tied. Apologies.
No worries.
For both sides here. So this next dragon is going to be the big sort of... the big point of contention, shall we say. If Afreeca are able to get this one, they'll be in a decent spot, potentially win the entire game, as Baron will spawn on a different timer, and they'll be on their 3-item power spikes when that does spawn. If we have the opposite happen, and Therapy Session end up picking it up for themselves, we're then suddenly in a situation where this outscaling comp is 1 dragon away from Dragon Soul, and the Baron obviously is going to have spawned sort of at the same time as the inhibitor will respawn. So definitely important to note the importance of this dragon.
Yeah, and you have to think with potential 4 Dragon Souls on the side with a Gragas, Skarner, and Galio. That's an incredibly tanky team, and without the healing reduction coming out from the side of Afreeca Phreaks, it could be a huge problem for them, as we are now seeing a second wave of super minions move into that top lane. So this is putting a huge amount of pressure, as you previously stated, onto Therapy Sessions. It's going to be a great binding onto the Lilia, who is going to be body slammed and taunted, taken down once again before one of these dragon fights. It's actually going to be a teleport cancelled there, so they're not going to be able to defend their base. They do have a teleport available available on Renekton, but he's going to be taken down, being caught out by the Everfrost, actually going to be able to flash out of there. Ari on the backside going to be taken down by the rapid fire
Teleport
shots.
I'm sorry.
And it's going to be a teleport by Sol into the base. They're going to try and cancel the recalls. Will Ballbag and Shots be able to cancel them? Looks as though he's going to flash forward, miss the hook. He's going to be able to move on to the second tower, but he
walking there.
the minions. The tower defenses are so much higher. Fist is making his way into the base.
How are we getting the dragon?
Minions. Nobody's getting the dragon. It looks as though Ballbag is going to be moving towards it. Gandalf and Sapig have to be moving down there. They have full vision. And no, it's going to be a third dragon going over to the side of Afreeca. And the back door is also thwarted. But if you're Afreeca, surely you're happy with this.
That's ridiculous. There's no world in which the dragon should go over to Afreeca here. But two members end up dying. Both the Appleman and Helicon end up going down. But somehow, no one on the side of Therapy Session likes to try and check the dragon after Sol is repelled by Fist. It doesn't make any sense. Realistically, this should have been the Dragon 4 Therapy Session, but such a massive mistake this late in the game could have catastrophic effects for the next couple of minutes.
We're perhaps seeing some of these communication issues that can come through with playing with substitutes that you weren't expecting to play with. You know, some of the calls of whether you can or can't defend or contest the Drake. So perhaps just a couple of team play and communication issues coming out here, as it's actually going to be Afreeca taking on the Baron. Shots is going to let them know, though, by killing that ward in the back. If you are in solo queue, do not kill the ward if you have vision control over it. Charm coming out onto the Skarner, into the hook, into the flare, but we're going to see the heroic entrance come in and the impale onto the Ahri, but there's not enough damage to take down the Ahri. Does look like the Caitlyn ult is going to be blocked, and Morgana is going to go down as well. 2 kills over the Lucian. Brilliant sleep there, and it's going to be followed up with some damage from the Lilia. The Cask is going to hit nothing, so the Renekton is going to be able to slice and dice his way through the back line of this fight, and the Gragas is not nimble enough to be able to do the same. Looks as though might be able to get enough damage, but going to go into the Zhonya's and then picked up with the hook. So it is a 4-for-0, and you have to think they are going to be able to push in for the base.
Yep, we got the massive minion wave here on the top side. Looks as though Afreeca Phreaks are going to attempt to use that one. They do have themselves that one Ocean Dragon, so there's going to be a little bit of healing coming through. But realistically, it's not needed, provided the carries actually hurry up and get there before the respawns come through. And I think that stop off for red buff might actually be a little bit important, potentially, here in this defense.
Yeah, we do see the Yasuo using the Zhonya's here to survive some of the damage to come out from Lilia. But oh my days, Ballbag's damage is insane with that Kraken Slayer Essence Reaver combination, just cutting through with true damage onto the Galio. They will be able to take down the mid lane inhibitor, but like you said, the stop off of the red buff may just deny them the ability to win this game right here, right now.
So a little bit of greed coming through from both Ballbag and Helicon. Or for a red buff that realistically didn't matter that much when the game is ending in 5 seconds after it's taken. But they elect to go for it, and that does mean that the respawns do come through. They do end up picking up Fist as he sort of suicides to buy time for the rest of his team to respawn. But realistically, that you'll take that trade if you are playing this Galio.
Yeah, definitely. Sacrifice your life for your Nexus. Definitely a worthy trade. As nobody's actually picking up these side lane waves once again. Sapig is grouped with the team rather than using his teleport advantage to move into these side lanes. Definitely a little bit of an issue that we sometimes see in the lower divisions, people not utilizing a teleport as much as they should. Again, we're going to see some great hooks. Ooh, nice hook over onto the Gragas, as it's going to be charmed up as well. And there's the Culling going to take down Sapig. Going to be traded for the Thresh. Will the fight continue from here, though? Caitlyn is going to land a ton of damage onto the Ahri, as we're going to see the Zhonya's come out from Morgana and then taken down by Ballbag. Once again, it seems like the fight is going in favor of Afreeca. Will they bother with the Baron? Will they just go for the win? As there's going to be the sleep onto the Caitlyn, but nobody going to follow up. It's a 9-man sleep from the TSM days of Worlds, but they are going to move over to Baron and just see if they can defend this base, to be honest, with the Galio Caitlyn. It does look as though Isle of Whisker in a position to potentially steal this, but doesn't have a flash. We mentioned the Ghost earlier. Does not allow you to move over these walls, so they will lose the Baron to Afreeca Phreaks.
Yeah, it is one of the negatives of running this Ghost, and kind of why you need to have this early lead, because there's no chance to steal situations if you are running the Ghost over the flash. It's one of the different reasons as to why you would prefer the flash over the Ghost later on in the game. On the subject of late game, we are 40 seconds away from the potential Ocean Soul, which is going to be game-winning for the side of Afreeca Phreaks if they are able to pick that one up. you got to flip it at this point. If you are on the side of therapy session, you have to flip the game on this soul. Although, having said that, it looks like Freaks don't actually care about the soul, and they're just going to try and walk it down mid and just end the game with the Baron.
Yeah, it doesn't look as though they think they need that Ocean Soul. They can win right here, right now. Skarner moving towards the Gromp. That is not where you want to be right now, my friend, as they look to be moving towards the Gragas. Appleman's movement speed is so incredibly high right now on that Lilia, can bounce around like nobody's business. Will be able to take down the top inhibitor, and there are no Nexus towers. It's going to be a flash forward from... Oh, it's actually going to be a hook landing onto worth dying for. It really wasn't worth dying for, my friend, but you're going to see the heroic entrance coming in, landing onto 3. It's a great impale onto Ballbag, but everybody is so low. The Zhonyas are not going to help you here, as we're just going to see Gandalf, who started the fight, waltzing their way out and watching their Nexus die in front of them. That is going to be game 1 over to the winless Afreeca Phreaks.
Yeah, a little bit of teleport PM.
Yeah.
They like to mess up our timers, don't they? Just a lot of mistakes here coming through from both sides. I must confess, not the cleanest of games. But Afreeca Phreaks make less mistakes, have a better proactive early game, and use their gold lead to sort of snowball the game off of a big couple of fights, one around the Baron and one obviously around the Dragon, which they did allow them to pick up Drake number 3. So good stuff from them. And this is them without any bans. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in game 2, where they potentially get to use 2 bans.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that plays out. Also, this Morgana counter pick not really working in their favor. We even saw in the last fight, the Black Shield going onto the Morgana, then dodging the hook, and it eventually ended up hitting the Caitlyn, which was such a large proportion of the team's damage. So we'll have to see how the game 2 draft cleans up. We will be taking a short break now, but we will see you again in a couple of minutes' time. Hello and welcome back to Valence League. We are here in Division 2A and Game 1 going over to Afreeca Phreaks in this matchup versus Therapy Session. So we are going to be moving into the Champion Selective Game 2 soon. But recollect, maybe give us a couple of highlights for you from that first game.
So the big thing, at least in the early stages, was the power of this Thresh into the Morgana pick. Really good stuff coming through from shots, landing a lot of good hooks to gain a nice lead for Ballboy. So I think that was like the main factor, is the solution got so snowballed that they were able to really power through the early mid game. And then even though there were quite a few mistakes, obviously with QSS issues, as I'm going to refer to them, they still had such a massive gold lead that it didn't really matter. So that, as well as obviously excellent play from Helicon on the Ahri. The Appleman made a couple of mistakes, but overall played pretty well. These sort of were able to sort of muscle their way through the game, and then really that's the main thing, is that they got this goldie and they managed to keep going with it, especially at that sort of barren fight area.
Yes, as we are actually going to be moving into the Champions Select, just to go over some of the bans that these teams have accrued. Afreeca, who this time on the red side of the map, will not have their first 3 bans, but Therapy Session only lost their first 3 bans for the previous game. Those are now back, so they are able to take away the Thresh in this second game.
Yep, definitely a ban that I think is worth going for. I'm expecting to see the Ahri ban come through as well. The third ban, I think, is the one that's the most up on the table. This can sort of be any of the other picks that we saw last game, or potentially some other special picks, shall we say? Things like, Camille, Fiora, like they banned in the last game. But I'm expecting it'll probably be Lucian. I think that you'll ban the Ahri away here on second banning phase, and potentially Lucian on the third.
Yeah, would be expecting to see that. It then opens up the question of what the first pick will be at this time for Therapy Session. There is the Lucian that's going to be taken away from Ballbag, so that duo bot lane really going to be pinched a little bit, so they'll be having to move over to something else. Yeah, what do we see perhaps potentially coming through as a first pick priority here for the side of Therapy Session?
So if there is no Ahri ban, it's almost certainly Ahri first pick. There's no way it gets through. Other than that, I'm expecting we could see the Lilia again. I think Lilia is such a powerful champion right now. It would make a lot of sense to prioritize it. Other than that, potentially we'll see the Gragas take away again, because Sapik had such a great performance on it last game. It was probably the standout member, honestly, from the last game that we got to see. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that one get picked up early on. Other than that, there aren't really a lot of priority picks that I'm expecting to see sort of come through. So I would say the Gragas is the most likely one that we'll see as the first pick.
Okie dokie, yeah, it does make sense. Was did have around a 30-35 CS lead at around 15 to 20 minutes in the previous game, despite being in the scaling position versus the Renekton. So also did have some excellent casks in those later game team fights. Wasn't enough to win them the fight, as they were lacking in the damage once Worth Dying For went down. But there we will see the final no ban from Afreeca Phreaks, and the first pick coming out from blue side we will see momentarily. It'll be interesting to see whether the Fiora gets any priority as well this game from the side of Hi, I'm Sol, very popular on that champion. So we're going to see the Kai'Sa first pick. So like you said, picking up some of the comfort from 11.3 despite the nerfs that have come through today on 11.4.
And the weird thing is that I feel like Kai'Sa is a champion that gets countered by Senna, and Senna being so prevalent would make a lot of sense as the counter pick here for Ballbag if he's willing to pilot it. The next champion on the list of priority would be this Jhin. So it's going to be one or the other I would expect to see come through. Looks like it will be the Jhin is the option they're going to go with. I actually personally, as I said, do prefer the Senna over the Jhin, but it's fine. It's another one of the powerful meta champions we're seeing at the moment due to the large amount of bursts that can come through from this pick, as well as the large amount of CC follow-up potential.
Yeah, looking at Ballbag's champion pool, Senna doesn't appear to be a champion that they play at all, really, in solo queue. So perhaps just not confident enough on that, particularly with the fasting being something that you do need to practice a fair few times with your duo. As we're going to see the Udyr come through here. So again, despite the nerfs to jungle experience and the fact we expected some more gank heavy junglers, the Udyr and Olaf will be coming through as well. So it really is feeling like 11.2, 11.3 up in here.
Yeah, a lot of comfort picks coming through so far, or rather, a lot of people playing what they've gotten familiarized themselves with. So this is kind of why we were talking about earlier how we didn't think that the changes would really make that much of a difference, because it's only been a day, so the meta hasn't really been decided yet, shall we say. So everyone is just playing what they were playing before, and that's sort of why we're ending up seeing things like Kai'Sa, Olaf, Udyr coming through. The Orianna is an interesting one because you don't have a great ball delivery system unless you want Olaf to be your system, in which case I'm expecting to see some sort of engaged support to make up for that. But you can speed the Olaf up, so in that regard, I guess it's somewhat okay. But Echo's going to do pretty well into that matchup after he gets himself an item or two.
Yeah, we should see Afreeca Phreaks banning here as well. Yep, this game they have decided to do it. They've won their kind of flex in the first game by not banning and still taking away the W. But the Gragas for Sapig will be taken off the table. Makes sense. Very much a comfort pick. It'll be interesting to see whether the Morgana makes its way through with Gandalf, as Fiora they're going to be taken away from Sol.
Yep, definitely not wanting the 5 bans versus 0 bans matchup. They're going to go for a 5 for 2 instead. The Gragas ban, as we said before, the big champion we said. Interesting to see the Fiora ban come through. It's definitely something Sol was playing in solo queue, like you said. Having said that, we do still have the potential of Camille Galio on the table. As Galio support can come through for shots, and then potentially we could see the Camille towards the top side, and we can play as a 1-3-1 using Echo Camille side lane. So potentially a decent ban away here. Whether we'll see that one come through, I'm not sure. Galio support can be something that people have to be comfortable on, but it is on the table still. We'll have to wait and see in terms of these picks. I'm expecting more of a poke support, as Jhin usually favors. Things that he can follow up on his W fairly easily with. So you can do poke supports like Karma, with the Mantra Q being a great setup tool. You can also go for the more engaged heavy option of things like Leona. So good champion to pivot between. It does give you a little bit of flexibility. But it's like we're saving the support counter pick for last. We're going to see an early Ornn pick here for Sol.
Yeah, so they are going to get the top lane counter pick on the side of Sapig. But as you were saying with the Galio, I would actually really like to see Galio support in here with the blue side composition. In my opinion, best paired with the Kai'Sa, works so well with the Killer Instinct, as well as just so much damage coming out in a 2v2. But looks as though we're actually going to get the Swain. I would assume that that's going into the support position, but we'll have to wait and see what the final pick from the side of Therapy Session is going to be before we decide on that. Interesting matchup with the Swain Kai'Sa paired in the bot lane. Does do a decent job of proccing the Killer Instinct passive, but Gandalf will be finalizing that for us. It's actually going to be Swain in the top lane, as Alistar will be a great pairing down in the bot lane, as well as a brilliant ball delivery system, as you mentioned, for the Orianna.
Yeah, so Swain actually has a very good matchup into the Ornn, given the fact that Ornn can't really blow him up, and as Swain is such a good drain tank. So you're never going to die against Ornn, and then you scale significantly better in the side lane matchup, as well as just being an all-round mez in team fighting scenarios. So in that regard, the Swain is going to be pretty happy to play into this Ornn, and you still need a ball delivery system. So in that regard, the Alistar does come through as the blind pick for the support matchup. It's going to be somewhat favorable into such an immobile carry like Jhin, and it does create a situation where if Blitzcrank ever hooks Alistar, it's actually really unfavorable for the side of the Afreeca Phreaks. So
yeah,
we'll have to see. Yeah.
I was about to say, moving back to the early days of League of Legends, notoriously, Blitzcrank was not a good matchup into Alistar. That was not a particularly fun cow to pull in certain scenarios. So I am wondering whether this, again, the pairing of Jhin Blitzcrank doesn't really utilize the power of Jhin's W as much as the likes of a Karma, like you mentioned, which could then also speed up the Udyr.
Yeah, so in this scenario, it's pretty much all on shots to be hitting the hooks. In this bot lane match, at the very least. If he does land one onto worth dying for, the Deadly Flourish combination will come through afterwards, off of the knockup, probably into a trap and all the damage you could possibly need to blow up squishy little ADC. The only problem is that Gandalf can pretty much just stand in front of Worth Dying For, and there's not much you can do about that, because you can't hook the Alistar. And if you try to auto it as Bullbag, you're just going to get engaged on by him, and then immediately Kai'Sa just walks up and deals her damage. And in the support versus AD carry 1v1s that would break out, I think Alistar actually would do more damage to Jhin than Blitzcrank will do to the Kai'Sa, so it becomes favorable. So as long as Gandalf is willing to play aggressively in this matchup, it's really difficult to do anything from the side of Afreeca Phreaks.
Yeah, definitely an interesting 2v2 going to be happening down there. I also think team fighting wise, this is going to be quite a fascinating game. You do have the Shockwave coming out from the Orianna and the Drain Tank of the Swain. Kind of countered there by the likes of the Call of the Forge God being such a wonderful team fight tool on the side of the Afreeca Phreaks. I wonder who you think has the advantage moving into those perhaps Dragon and Baron clustered fights.
It depends on the type of fight that breaks out, because realistically, Helicon is probably going to want to sit in the sideline anyway and just 1-4. But if he is involved in a team fight, he has to blow up Worth Dying For or Fist before the fight really breaks out. If he's able to do that, then the damage potential it becomes harder to get through these tanks of the Udyr and the Ornn. Realistically, if there is no explosion onto the backline, then you're going to have more than enough damage to break through Ornn after like a couple of seconds. Same with the Udyr. It all depends on how good the assassination is onto the backline. He does have some help with that. You do have the Deadly Flourish to come in, help with the rooting if you're able to land a little bit of damage on, as well as the Curtain Call afterwards. You do have the Call of the Forge God to look for those picks. But if Afreeca Phreaks ever group up, that Shockwave is, as well as the Headbutt Pulverizer, could be deadly.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting moving towards those fights. You have to think, last game, Afreeca Phreaks, despite the win, they didn't purchase an awful lot of healing reduction on their side, which was one of the things that made this the top lane Gragas a little bit harder to take down. This game, we are seeing the Swain come out, so you have to hope that the likes of Ballbag and Helicon will recognize that and move towards an Oblivion Orb or an Executioners.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see some more healing reduction coming through as you said, playing into Olaf, Swain, two champions that love to build or heal quite a lot. I'm expecting to see the Gorge Ringer coming through for MyQ or Miss. It's very important that the itemization in this game is a little bit more well-rounded, shall we say, for the competition they are playing into. Just loading into the game now, just having a look at the runes. It's like everyone's sort of going standardized. There is the Dark Harvest for the Jhin. So Bullbag looking for the aggressive snowballing choice, shall we say, instead of the more safe flick footwork.
Yeah, and we're also seeing the exhaust coming out from the Alistair rather than the ignite. I'm curious about your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's odd to me because I feel as though they already win the matchup. You don't necessarily need to run the exhaust. If you were to run exhaust, I'd actually say it'd be better to run exhaust ignite bot lane. That way it makes more sense for Kai'Sa to run it in the event that Echo is diving the backside later on in the game. Yeah, not something I would personally recommend running here. We're just going to have to pause and sync up for the game to make sure that we are synced up. I'm ready for that.
Yes, same here. Fantastic, and here we are going to be getting into Game 2. A lot of pings on the map. Perhaps we get something a little bit more exciting than in Game 1, but it's going to be Game 2 of Afreeca Phreaks versus Therapy Sessions.
The classic Blitzcrank Invade. If you've ever played League of Legends, you should know about Blitzcrank Invade. It's like rule number 3 on the rulebook. Hidden behind Don't Chase Singed and TMO is Cancer. This is...
Ooh, sort of the sneaky ward. Sorry, just ward. To cut you off there. It is a good ward out of Gandalf to spot this, and they did not see it be placed. So it looks as though they may group up on the blue side and try and counter this.
Yep, it is, as I said, the classic rule, so not too surprising to see the defense coming through here. It is going to be a 3v5 defense, though, so not one you would actually want to see. I'd actually recommend that they split the map instead and just have MyQ or Miss start the enemy red buff and just trade the two. And then vertical jungle from there, because realistically, you're not going to win a 5v3 fight.
No, it looks as though Olaf just going to take the top side blue buff. Not going to go and get any vision in the top red side, which I'm a little surprised about. I thought they might wanted to get a little bit of vision up there while they had the time and awareness that there was nobody around. But we will see whether we see some vertical jungling out of both of these sides. On will make its way up into the top lane, and Orianna potentially going to be caught out in a difficult spot here, but will just catch almost the entirety of the enemy team on a ward there, and it looks as though they will be a little bit late to lane. They may have missed perhaps a wave's worth of experience there.
Yeah, so the awkward situation is that I don't necessarily think that the Jhin Blitzcrank can actually walk past the Kai'Sa Alistar to get into lane, because if you try and hook someone, then Alistar's just gonna... If you hook the Alistar, he suddenly gets massive pulverize value, and Kai'Sa is going to be significantly more powerful than Jhin in this early stage. So
Kai'Sa is actually going to deal enough damage to the Appleman that he's going to have to flash out of there. Doesn't look like there's going to be any more follow-up on it, but that is so much early gank potential out of the Udyr with the Flash Bear Slap.
Yeah, that was one of the powerful tools of the Udyr, pretty much gone for the first couple of minutes. It's just a bit bizarre to see this kind of thing happening. You know there's no way you can really get lane priority given the fact that your bot lane had to path so far away. So when you try and do these Krugs, you're just praying that the Kai'Sa doesn't go aggressively on you. Level 2 for shots here, looking for a hook.
Ooh, oh, it's gonna miss. Nice little, again, like you said, Gandalf Greybeard, just standing in front of the Kai'Sa, just ensuring the safety of their AD carry. Does look as though we're seeing my Q will miss, who does not miss his Q, doing a gank up onto the Ornn, but the Bellows Breath into the brittle auto attack will be enough to get the Ornn out of there.
Yeah, the lane is in a really awkward spot though, so we might have to see Sol TP back to attempt to correct it, but it looks like he's not going to teleport at all and is instead just sort of hovering out of XP range, hoping that no one notices he's still there. The only problem with this is my Q will miss. We'll probably just do this grab and look straight top lane again for Sol.
Yeah, may want to get a reset off here, although no, does seem to be pushing up just as far. Might just back off here and try get an early recall. Although Ornn does not need to do that recall to get the early items, can just forge them in a bush there, as we're going to see an early Ruby Crystal come out. Both junglers converging on mid lane here, but looks as though they will be scared away by the presence of the Udyr showing on the minions.
But look at the power of Udyr's clearing potential. Already up several camps here on my Q will miss with this Olaf, and Olaf isn't a slouch in terms of farming speed, so definitely worth noting that a large amount of the gold is just from this camp clearing, and it's so powerful. Even though it's been nerfed, it's still one of the big strengths of Udyr is how quickly he can clear.
Yeah, and moving down to that bot lane, while we haven't seen any of these hooks land from the side of shots, it is forcing the Kai'Sa into a little bit of a difficult position in terms of farming, so falling slightly behind the Jhin early on.
Yeah, definitely means that there are being some misplays happening here in the matchup for you to be this far behind in the early stages. So perhaps a lack of knowledge in terms of this particular bot lane.
Oh, it's a searing charge onto the Ornn, but he's going to be taken down to 200 HP. Going to have to flash out of there before his jungler has even decided to go in, as the Appleman actually just recalling in the bush. Perhaps some miscommunication there, as we're going to see a move in from the Alistar here, but it doesn't look as though there's going to be enough damage to commit much to it. Looks as though some pings going down onto the dragon there for the Udyr, so might be wanting to get that early mountain dragon into the back pocket of Afreeca Phreaks.
Yep, Udyr known for his ability to solo dragons early, as is Olaf, but looks like it's going to be the Appleman who's going to potentially start that one. If not, ganking bot side, good flash from shots.
Yeah, flash. Hook is going to miss, though, and it looks as though they're going to be blown up by the Kai'Sa passive, down to 200 HP thanks to the Blitzcrank passive shield. But there is nothing more happening here, but that does mean that the Udyr has had to give away his position. So Olaf does kind of have the advantage in this scenario. Also just going to reveal his position with the Scrying Orb. Both junglers really just matching each other in every single lane, and we're really seeing like every gank just denied here.
Yeah, nothing really happening in terms of the first blood. Definitely a good attempt from the Appleman to try and find himself a little lead, but the Blitzcrank unable to land the important rocket grab when it mattered most to potentially burn summoners from worth dying for, means that even if you do regank, there's always the chance that Kai'Sa can flash away. We might be
it's hooked the Alistair. That's questionable, but we are going to see the knock-up onto 2 there. We will not see a stun follow-up, but it's actually going to be a 2-man parallel convergence. Worth dying for is going to be taken to 200 HP, a knock-up onto Fist as well. But it still seems as though blue side may be coming out with enough HP to make the difference. We might see the solo kill in the top lane, but the Swain not able to take down the Ornn, going to slither away with just 100 HP. Great hook onto Fist, into the Deadly Flourish. Who will the kill go over to? It's the Udyr with the first blood, and they will likely be able to pick up this Mountain Dragon.
Yep, the classic recalling on a ward there for Fist, catching himself out and ends up getting punished there by an excellent rocket grab there from shots. No real way to miss. Good attempt here from MyQ will miss.
Yeah, but does not have the health pool to be able to survive long enough.
Yeah, and the dragon reset as well.
It's a painful situation from MyQ will miss. Perhaps went in a little bit too early to say he was only level 4. And you have to wonder whether the side of Therapy Session just, happy to give up that dragon and say, okay, we lost the team fight, we got caught recalling on a ward versus a Blitzcrank, we'll try the next one. It seems like a little bit of an overforce there to give over another kill, which this time has gone into the hands of Ballbag, who was such a key power point for the side of Afreeca in game 1.
Yeah, and the big thing as well is that the flash is blown from the Olaf, so the aggression that will come through in the next couple of minutes, potentially for this Herald, the effectiveness of this champion is going to be significantly weakened, shall we say, as without the flash to go aggressively on the backline, he's definitely going to struggle. Only level 4 at the moment, about 8 minutes into the game, so quite behind the curve in terms of where should really be at for golden XP. So in a really difficult spot here for the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, and we're seeing that CS advantage we mentioned earlier in the bot lane. It was sitting at around 5 to 6 CS, but now with the better priority to move towards that dragon, that's ballooned to almost 15, previously at 20, and Ballbag will likely be able to pick up the majority of this wave, so a little bit of suffering going on down in the bot lane for worth dying for. Going to be a parallel convergence coming out in the mid lane. It's going to land again onto the Orianna. Likely not going to have enough damage to take him down, but some brilliant accuracy and timing on the side of Helicon so far.
Yep, just trying to get some aggressive trading to potentially look to get lane priority. Very few items so far, so not actually the timer where the Echo would be expected. That's a gank from the top side.
Lane gank here. We'll see the Blitzcrank. Will he be able to land a hook? This time it lands, but it's not timed with the Searing Charge particularly well. The Udyr will be able to come in, but they're not going to have the damage. Swain's going to survive, and the Olaf is going to arrive, but does not have the flash to follow up. But that is going to be a 3-man dive in the top lane, thwarted. Looks as though Helicon is going to come and run defense for his team as well, but you have to think he'd rather be pushing in that mid lane than defending his top lane and jungle support that have just failed that attempt onto the Swain.
Yeah, so a little bit of a misplay here coming through from the side of Afreeca. There was an opportunity for the Searing Charge to land a knock-up and then the Rocket Grab, but the two abilities went off simultaneously, meaning that shots actually pulled Sapig out of Soul's knock-up. There was a little bit of CC lost, a little bit of damage lost as well. Good hook from Shot, that's a kill.
Oh no, it looks as though it's going to be a flash out from Fist, and not quite laid the CC perfectly there as the parallel convergence comes through a little bit late, but still an incredibly important summoner spell from the mid laner blown, and for no summoner spells used. Looks as though we will see MyQ will miss trying to take down that Herald on the top side, but we do not currently have vision on the HP there, but it doesn't appear that the red side have any information of this, as Udyr actually making his way there, and it is low. Will they be able to take it? No, it will go over to the Olaf.
Yep, so MyQ will miss, able to pick that one up for themselves, does make sure to secure it and take it with them. The amount of times I've seen that in solo queue where they get the Rift Herald and forget about the eye.
Oh, it's painful.
It hurts every time. It hurts every single time. Unless it's on the enemy team, in which case it's just the best feeling. The worst feeling being when you get the Herald and then all of you die and you just have to watch it expire. Anyway, Gandalf gets caught.
Yeah, another hook into a Deadly Flourish, but since it's landed onto the Alistair, again, we've said that just not an awful lot is going to come from this. Doing a really good job of blocking for the Kai'Sa in this scenario, as we're going to see more trading up in the top lane. We mentioned the CS difference in the bot lane, but the CS difference in the top lane is even larger than that. We're seeing a 21 CS difference in favor of the Swain in this scenario, so quite painful for the Ornn at the moment.
Yeah, Sapic's done a really good job in both of the games so far to get himself a little bit of a CS and gold lead, pretty much on his own, which is always a really good sign for a player if they can get leads without any real help.
We are seeing both junglers match each other here, and we're going to see the killer instinct forward, but it's actually going to be the parallel convergence landing onto the Kai'Sa. But will the Olaf be able to take him down? He will, but will then be taken down. Call of the Forge God going to land, and actually Udyr is going to take down the Kai'Sa. We're going to see a shockwave onto 2, and the knock-up from the Alistar is going to knock on, but then it's going to be the Echo picking up a double kill for Helicon, and that is a 1-for-3 trade in favour of Afreeca Phreaks. So a bit of an overcommit there from the blue side.
Yeah, it's one of those horrible situations in AD carry where you can perform the killer instinct forwards and immediately see 3 people next to you. Because as soon as that happens to Worth Dying Fortune, he knows he's in trouble. There's no way he can live. Tries to flash away, tries to heal to survive. But there's no possible way of surviving the Udyr Echo, and the overall play ends up being a net positive for the side of the Afreeca Phreaks.
Yeah, and we're seeing the teleport used from Ornn down there into that fight to gain that advantage, while Sapig hasn't quite used his. It will be a parallel convergence landing onto the Ornn, but it looks as though Helicon's just going to try and make his way out of there. We'll have to see whether Sapig is able to use that teleport advantage here to perhaps guarantee them this dragon, or whether they're just going to let the second one go over to the side of Afreeca once again, as they're going to use the Herald in the mid lane. That is ordinarily a nice play just before a dragon fight.
And the important thing here for Sapig is he's got to make sure that he does stand quite far back so he doesn't get interrupted by the Searing Charge from Sol. Definitely an option to interrupt if he's ever close to the Ornn. You can land, obviously, the knock-up into, or the pillar into the knock-up, apologies. Even if you don't have, obviously, the Call of the Forge God. So you've got to be a little bit careful when you're doing that, and it looks like they'll elect to not bother using the resource, and that's going to be the first 2 dragons over, and we've got Ocean Soul on the table.
Oh, the Udyr actually faked ganking, and it's going to be the curtain call coming out into a beautiful hook, but the killer instinct is actually fantastic, but will go straight into the deadly flourish. The auto attack from Udyr will be able to finish it off, but you have to think, will they be able to dive, an Alistar with ultimate, but the stopwatch is fantastic. The Olaf is going to run through. That's going to be the teleport that we were waiting to see out of Sapig. Will not land the grass, but the Eye will land the slow onto the Jhin, and the Q will not miss this time around, and they will pick up ball bag. But Echo is going in now. We'll be able to pick up the kill before the chrono break onto the Olaf, but will get dragged back by the Swain and will likely be taken down by the Shockwave. That's an extra 450 in gold over to the Orianna.
And that is the teleport advantage coming into play from Sapig. Excellent play to turn around the entire gank. A really good stopwatch must be noted there by Gandalf, really stalling out time and catching Appleman off guard, I would think. Even though Helicon is able to get the rotation first, try to protect Bullbag, doesn't really matter because Fist comes through, lands the shockwave to kill him, and just ends up with pretty much everyone on the side of the Afreeca dead.
Yeah, and also credit over to Ballbag in that scenario after an excellent killer instinct to move past the Udyr. Was able to land that deadly flourish to take the Kai'Sa down to around 10 HP so that the Udyr could finish it off. So although it wasn't a net positive play from Afreeca, we're at least seeing a little bit more accuracy coming out of their bot lane.
Yep. Anyway, we have a potential 3-man again on the bot side here with the Blitzcrank Udyr gank.
The curtain call is not available, but it looks as though they're heading straight for the Kai'Sa. It's going to be the stun into the hook, into the deadly flourish, and there is going to be the final auto for Ballbag. No ultimate available for the Alistar this time around, so the parallel convergence and passive from the Echo will be enough. So just not respecting the vision. It's going to be a flash away from Fist as shots really up the accuracy on these Blitzcrank hooks from the early game, which was a little disappointing. It's actually going to be a curtain call used here to try and take down the Orianna without flash. It's going to be a knock-up into multiple autos, and it's then going to be taken by the curtain call of Ballbag. So getting into a 3, 2, and 7 position on the AD carry with a CS difference there, as they're not going to be able to take this tower without the minion wave, so they might want to back out.
Yeah, they'll get it on the next wave, though, so that will be the first tower, probably going over here for the side of the Afreeca Phreaks, getting themselves a nice little 2,000 gold lead. Will potentially increase a little bit more once this tower ends up going down, up to about 2,500. So they're in a really strong spot now to potentially snowball into the 3rd dragon and then the Soul.
Yeah, and we're up here in the top lane. We're seeing one of the issues of playing the Ornn into the Swain. Having to go that Abyssal Mask first doesn't feel particularly good. You really have to push back your early mythic item, which isn't ordinarily something you want to do on a tank like Ornn. So really suffering just purely based on the matchup here.
Yeah, realistically speaking, you never want to not do mythic first. Anyway, Gandalf lands a nice little headbutt pulverize, looking for the stun as well.
Oh, but we're actually seeing multiple people up here in the top lane. Call and Forge are going to come out, but the Swain ultimate will be able to heal up an awful lot, but the Brittle stacks do so much damage. Great Zhonya's to avoid the Blitzcrank hook, but with multiple more stuns coming through. And it's actually the Gale Force auto coming through, but the Olaf is going to Ragnarok his way in. We'll be able to take down the Udyr. We'll be able to track down the Ornn as well. Deadly Flourish is going to land the stun. He's actually turning his attention to shots. Isn't enough as the Blitzcrank doesn't survive. He's going to get taken down by the minions, as we're actually going to see two members moving into the mid lane for the Echo, but nothing else is going to happen. And it's, God, all hell breaking loose up in the top lane.
Yeah, lots of fights all over the map, but looks like all of the others resolved fairly quickly. Really well played there from Sapig. If only he could have gotten the ult burst damage, potentially there could have been more kills coming through when MyQ will miss went for the re-engage, but excellent usage of the stopwatch to avoid the rocket grab from shots means he's able to stall fairly long. And MyQ will miss comes in, manages to pick up one, almost goes down before getting the second one. But thankfully he's got a red smite, minions, and I think the red buff as well, all played a little bit of a part there on the kill that went down onto shots.
Yeah, and we will be seeing in 15 seconds this dragon coming up, so you can see Sapig on the Swain has actually walked all the way down here, given that he does not have the teleport, so Hayam Sol just able to push in that top lane, likely able to get the tower, and we'll see whether either team really wants to contest a full 5-on-5 for this. Shot's actually going to get caught out by multiple hooks, and it's actually going to be the Ragnarok moving forward, it's just going to decimate the Blitzcrank. But that is a huge cooldown. That's an awful teleport coming in for the Ornn, directly into the middle of the team. And the curtain has been called, but I'm not sure it's going to achieve an awful lot, as every member is full HP from the side of Therapy Session. So you have to think they're going to give up this dragon at this point.
Yeah, the only one the curtain was called on was Sol, with one of the worst teleports I think I've seen since my last game of solo queue. That is not one you want to see out of your top laner, and a really poor usage of such a crucial cooldown now that Sapig's about to have his up.
Yeah, especially with, not even pushing that top lane tower in enough really to, kind of get some gold back on the map for the red side, taking down that top tier 1. And it looks as though they're just going to move towards the Rift Herald to try and push this advantage even more. There is no flash on the Udyr here, so we'll not be able to get a particularly quick engage onto the... Oh, it's actually going to be the Shockwave to avoid it, but the stun is going to line up the hook beautifully, but the Deadly Flourish is not going to land. The Gale Force will finally take him down, but Appleman going to get taken down by the Kai'Sa, as Sapig is joining with the grasp beautifully onto the Jhin. Call of the Forge God going to knock up the Swain under the tower, and the Brittle should be enough to take him down, but no, he's going to get away with 100 HP, and it's actually going to be the Olaf versus Echo. The Chrono Break has had to be used, but the Q does not miss. I've said that so many times this game, but his accuracy has just been on point. Shots is going to land the hook onto the Kai'Sa. This might be another kill being taken down in favour of the Ornn, but Killer Instinct is enough to survive. And will they now be able to take down I'm Sol? Gandalf is standing there. Ragnarok is back up again, and it will be enough to take them down. And it looks as though that's going to be it. And it's not an ace because it's so early in the game that the Udyr was able to respawn, but I believe that was 5 kills over to the side of Therapy Session.
Yep, Therapy Session with the better overall skirmishing coming through, meaning that they're able to get themselves the gold lead back in their own favor now, up 2,000 gold of their own. Excellent stuff pretty much all around the board. Sapig surviving on about 3 HP thanks to Worth Dying For's heal, and the Worth Dying For himself surviving on about 10 HP thanks to the Killer Instinct shield. So really scary stuff there for the side of Therapy Session, but able to survive on the slimmer of health, and they do themselves a good job, and now they're in a powerful spot here for the next dragon when it does spawn in 3 minutes, or potentially the Baron itself.
Yeah, some fantastic team fighting there out of the side of Therapy Session after. It was actually Fist that was caught out by the Udyr and had to blow the Shockwave very early, but again, we saw a kind of lack of synergy from the side of Afreeca. They did land the stun into hook, but the Deadly Flourish is then wide, so it takes them just a little bit too much of an overcommit, having to use that Gale Force forward for the Jhin to finally be able to take down that kill. As we are going to see them group up in the bot lane to take down that tier 1. And looks as though Jhin should be able to comfortably push in this mid lane, although maybe stopped by MyQ.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to just have Bullbag sort of retreat out of fear of this Olaf and the power he can absolutely shred through the health bar if he's able to land one or two of those undertows and really chase him down. So Wallbag has to show a little bit of respect. But looks like we're going to be fighting over a Scuttle Crab.
Yeah, it looks as though the Blitzcrank's likely going to get taken down by that Olaf. Undertow and Ragnarok is just too much for the Blitzcrank to survive, and they are pinging their way towards the Baron buff. Not sure that the side of Afreeca will be able to contest this with the power of this Olaf right now. It is sitting on both the Sterax and the Gordrink are fully completed, so incredibly difficult to take down, as well as the Kaiser True damage from the Kraken Slayer and passive coming towards this Baron. It does look like we will see them contest. Flash is up for the Appleman, so it looks as though they're respecting that, and they're just going to back off.
And the important thing... No, go on.
No, continue.
The important thing to note here, given how powerful my Q will miss is that there's actually limited healing reduction been bought so far against him. We do have the Oblivion Orb coming through from Helicon, but apart from that, we got literally nothing so far on the side of Afreeca Phreaks. And I'm kind of... Oh, that's a lie. I see the Executioner's on the Jhin now. And now I feel like an idiot. So...
I think it's only just been bought, so I think for the previous fight, I think it still was an issue. But yeah, moving forward, we might see him unable to heal as much, as both teams really just focusing the vision clearing around this Baron. We'll see the Swain just get a few free stacks there. And I'm surprised that Therapy Session didn't push that Baron a little bit further as well, given that they were in the 4v5 scenario.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's plenty of CC as well to potentially keep the Suda out of the pit whilst bursting the Baron. So there was the option for the side of Therapy Session to attempt to blow it up. But they felt a little bit afraid of the steal. If that did go over, obviously if they lose this one, the series is over. So I think it's understandable they're a little bit apprehensive about taking that fight. But instead, it looks like they're going to play for this this dragon spawning in the next 30 seconds, and we'll have our next fight coming about fairly soon.
Yeah, it looks as though there is going to be a contestation for this dragon. But we are seeing a nice headbutt pulverize onto the Jhin. Going to Gale Force away into the Deadly Flourish. And we have the Call of the Forge God going to land onto only one, as the Jhin is going to go down before the fight has even started. The Ragnarok is doing so much work as he's able to avoid the CC from the Udyr. Going to be a pull onto the Blitzcrank, but he's actually going to hook. Oh, that's an weird interaction there. Going to headbutt pulverize, as it looks like the Alistair is going to sacrifice his life to save his top laner. But Sapig may still even go down. Searing Charge is not going to connect with the dead turret, so no knock up there onto the Swain. But hey, who knew Blitzcrank could knock up a Zhonya's Swain?
Yeah, apparently so. So Shot's really showing his knowledge of interactions. I don't know. But it will all be for naught in this situation, as the dragon will go over to the side of Therapy Session. They'll be fairly happy about that one. Sitting on a nice little 2,000 gold lead. Hasn't really increased much since we last addressed the gold. But so much of it is on my Q or miss. Got himself 700 gold bounty. 1,000 gold obviously would be the shutdown if you factor in the kill gold. So very important to see whether or not this Olaf does end up going down, and when or rather if he does go down, who will it go to? Yeah,
definitely. And at this point, it's been my Q will miss and Sapig, slapping the enemy team with their wallets. At this point, you're seeing 2.5 items on each of them. They're able to just dive these towers. Particularly with the CC immune from the Olaf. So Ballbag really not standing a chance, in this Gale Force, while it's helping him survive a small amount of time, it's just not enough.
Yeah. Jhin, not necessarily known for his ability to shred through tanks, is going to struggle when played into things like this. Alistar, things like, as I said, the Drain Tank of Swain, and even to an extent, obviously, the Olaf as well. So he's not going to be the best champion to play into this situation. So even before the fact that he hasn't built any sort of tank shred so far, it's going to be a difficult one for the Jhin until he picks up a couple more items to really break through this front line.
Yeah, the Collector doesn't really provide you an awful lot of value when into these 2 to 3 tank teams. It looks as though they are going to be setting up around this Baron once again. Neither team sending their teleport laner into the bot lane, which is where I would expect them, as it does seem Fist is going to head down there since he does have the teleport available on the Orianna.
Yep, just going to make sure we utilize the teleports. Everyone has their teleports up, so you can really do sort of whatever you want to at the moment. I would actually really like to see the side of the Afreeca Phreaks try to get Fist to use his teleport by potentially starting up this Baron with the intention of peeling off of it. You can do that, and that's obviously an excellent thing to do. However, it can be a little bit hard to disengage against the therapy session composition, so it does make some sense as to why they haven't done that. But allowing Orianna to free farm is not necessarily going to be the best thing when she has so many ball delivery system options to land multi-man shockwaves.
Oh, looks as though there's going to be an engage onto the Olaf, but he will surely be able to 1v4 in this situation. It looks like he's going to chase down the Jhin, but he will take him down, as there's just going to be a big mess here as the Swain is going to be able to get in and drain so much damage. Shockwave onto 2 is going to be huge, but it looks as though it's just going to be a full team wipe as the Flash Grasp is going to take down the Udyr. That is a clean ace for the side of therapy session, and that is surely going to be into the first Baron of this game.
And this is the problem when Olaf gets so far ahead, because even though it's a temporary 4v1, you land the engage onto my Q will miss, and you're thinking, oh, the Olaf's in trouble here, and he just goes, no, I'm going to Ragnarok and one-shot your AD carry with no counterplay. The multi-man lifesteal coming through from the Gore Drinker, as well as obviously the Sterex shield buying a lot of time on top of the vicious swings healing. It's really difficult to kill this champion when he gets such a big lead, and on 3 items he's the most fed member on either of these teams, so absolutely going to be having a field day rampaging through the backline, and does end up getting himself, I believe, 2 kills in that fight, and not really being that close to dying.
No, I think it felt as though it was a little bit of a last-ditch attempt coming out here from Afreeca. You mentioned about even landing the engage, the Blitzcrank hook missed, the Searing Charge missed, he didn't even have to immune the first few pieces of CC, so it was even a failed engage for to begin with, before the Orianna or the Swain had even arrived. So perhaps looking towards game 3 here for the side of Afreeca, they feel as though they can't do an awful lot. That being said, the Jhin is still slightly ahead of the Kai'Sa, but we've seen that Ballback has just not been able to be effective in the last 2 to 3 fights due to these tanks. So we'll see whether they're able to crack the base anytime soon. Not the greatest turret taking ability coming out from the Kai'Sa, as we will see shots just miss that hook. It'd be interesting to see whether they just want to go for the dive or just head towards that 3rd Drake in 30 seconds.
Yeah, we're in a situation where for Ballback he has to dodge every single undertow or he will die for sure. It's a very difficult situation to pilot if you are playing this Jhin, so I don't envy his position whatsoever. When Olaf gets fed, it can be a very difficult situation for mobile carries, but on the plus side, we do have the ornaments starting to come through. Level 14 here for Sol means he gets his first one here for his ally, being Ballback, picking himself up the Gale Force upgrade called the Typhoon. I definitely didn't just check what that was called, I promise. It's not going to do too much, to be honest with you. You still need about another 10 minutes before the scaling of Ornn really makes a difference, and even then, there's just so much of a gold lead that I'm not sure how much it'll matter. We'll have to wait and see whether or not they can deny the Baron, which does spawn in the next 3 minutes or so.
Yeah, I am, however, pleased to see Afreeca just give up this dragon. Like you said, they just need that time to be able to potentially scale up and get some of this armor shred before the soul fight in 5 minutes' time. We've seen an awful lot in this series so far that neither team has been willing to give up objectives. We've seen junglers trying to steal when it really wasn't an option. Shot's just going to run in there. We're actually going to see a potential ball delivery system. It's actually going to sombrero. It's a failed engage by Fist, but that doesn't seem to matter. It looks as though Ballbag's going to go down either way, as we're going to see the Call of the Forge Bug come out. It looks as though Jhin and Blitzcrank are going to get taken down. Fist is going to get taken down by Helicon. Isn't able to get the Chrono Break through in time. Pulls a 2016 Jensen. But even so, it looks as though it's going to be a 1 for 3 with the main carries of blue side still available. Going to be a great Searing Charge there to knock up. I will miss my Q. But, worth dying for. Actually taking way too many turret shots. Will almost die. Does have to burn the heal to be able to survive that. But I have to expect that they will be taking down the enemy Nexus towers here. And it looks as though they're going to be a last-ditch effort to defend the game. But worth dying for. Surely has the damage to be able to take this here. Oh, great hook onto Gandalf there. Almost into the Nexus. But there it's going to be game 2 is going to go over to therapy session. And we're going to be heading to a penultimate game 3.
Yep, massive flex here from the side of therapy session, especially from My Q Will Miss, coming in here in game 2 and really showing what they're made of. Piloting this Olaf to excellent success, getting himself 13 kills, being severely ahead of the opponent in the gold and the farm area. and overall just sort of 1v9 carrying the game.
Yeah, so an excellent performance there from Therapy Session. Great bounce back after the disappointment of Game 1. Afreeca still looking for their first series win, so Game 3 will decide whether they go 0-4 in the standings and kind of put themselves out of contention here in Division 2A. We're going to step away for a couple of minutes, but please join us for this Game 3 shortly. Thank you.